All right, so we're recording. This is Avery.
Hey, Kate.
We're going to look at one of my students' roles from, it was actually yesterday. So this is Brandon and another one of our students, Nelson. And they're rolling at my gym. And we're just going to do like a little bit of narration and just try and point out a few things that we think would really help Brandon's game. Like we're primarily focusing just on Brandon, and Brandon here is in the black right here. This down here in the blue shorts is Nelson. So Brandon. So let's go ahead and get started. So I mean, we got like kind of some weird pressure. Nelson's doing a real good job right here. In general, of just keeping his knee inside, which is something that I like to see, just continuously like making a little bit of distance. I wish that he was getting more on his side right now. That's kind of the main thing that I'm seeing that like I think would like really improve.
Yeah, and from Brandon's point of view, what I'd say is that it looks like he's content to have this grip. And Brandon and I wrestled in college together, and in wrestling you have that kind of more mentality of just grabbing and holding. But what I think might be better for him is if you were to pummel his hand under the leg and then use it to push his hips facing away so that he couldn't kind of get these frames in. And if the guy on bottom really wanted to, he could lever this knee into Brandon's armpit and then get this knee into his hip and regain guard. So just one thing to note is this outside of the knee control right here doesn't do much, but going under the leg does a lot in the sense that you can turn their hips away, but it's very hard to turn their hips away from the knee.
Yeah, totally. And like I think one of the big things that I've been seeing from Brandon recently is just like, especially when he's passing, I'm seeing him a little bit too content both with bad grips, and he's not really fighting bad grips, trying to improve his grips. And number two, he's like overcommitting a little bit when someone else has a grip. He's like not respecting their grips as much as he maybe should, and that's like biting him in the butt just a little bit. So we'll see that here in a bit, I think. Good frame. Nelson's doing a good job right there on the hip and getting inside on the jaw. He would definitely be doing better right here. Like, big thing is like his hand's in a great spot. Like his hand's on this shoulder, but he can take that elbow that's like way over here down on his chest and just flare it. Like take Brandon's jaw and shove it up this way so that he can't look at him. Like if you don't let someone look at you, they're not going to be able to hold you very well. Just like a super simple kind of rule of thumb.
And then here Brandon's doing a good job turning his hips down, kind of sprawling into the re-guard shrimp.
Oh, good bump. Good bump. Good off balance. But see, even right there, like, actually, I want to go back. Brandon was doing a good job, but I would say, like, right here, as soon as right here, like I can just see, I'm sure Kate's saying the same thing. Brandon's center of gravity is over here. Like, not quite that far, but, like, he's too far this direction, right?
Yeah, and like you were saying before, now Nelson has this frame preventing Brandon from looking at him, so his jaw kind of originates right there, and he can't look this way. His back is 90 degrees and his hips are starting to shift, so all that combined, if you hip bump and he can't look towards you, he has no choice but to put a bunch of weight on this shoulder, on that like corner of his body.
Yeah, so it's like that's definitely a good thing. Like Nelson did a good job in terms of just recognizing like, oh, his weight is too far that way, I can push and start regarding. Nice little regard. And I forgot to say this, Brandon's a blue belt. We recently promoted him to blue belt, but he generally moves very well. Like he has good quality of movement, and he's playful, those are the two most important things in my eyes in terms of like whether or not someone's ready for a blue belt. We got some interesting stuff going on, little open guard. I don't really like what Nelson was just doing, actually. Like this right here is just bad. Like, why is your foot hanging out here, not doing shit? Like, do something with it. Get it out of the way or get it more in the way. But you're just giving someone, like, especially when it's loose like this, like if I see that, I'm like, just shove it. Just
Yeah, and one thing is you see Brandon almost sets up a steamer lock right here as it keeps going. I think it was here or it was a little bit before, but he gets the foot right in the position.
Oh, that's why.
So,
we're having some technical difficulties.
yeah, his foot right there, he could have steamer locked him. If it was a match, you could really crank it up. And then here he goes for a nice ankle lock entry. But one thing that he didn't do, which is biting him right there, is he did not keep his knee in the middle. So by that I mean, if I use this guy here, when he went to pull single leg X, he did not keep his knee right in the middle. So what keeping the knee in the middle does is it prevents his hips from getting to your hips. So you want to create some barrier between this right here. Thanks. You want to keep something from his hips getting to your hips. And a lot of the leg locks come from, what's called inside control, where you want to originate in between both legs. So you can see this leg is in between this leg here, because you have the foot there. So this is right in there. And then this leg should be in between this leg here, but it's not. When he pulls, he doesn't bring this knee up. So we go.
Yeah, if you just like here, clear it off. Yeah, we're learning how to use our software for doing this.
There we go. So you see this
Bam.
knee doesn't come in the middle, and then Nelson's able to use that to get to high side guard. Does a good job taking the back.
This is something that bugs me. This is like a sign of Nelson's belt level right here, what his feet are doing. Just like, I'm not saying grapevines are always bad, but I am saying that like white and blue belts overutilize grapevines. I generally, I just don't think that they're as good as like a closed, like closing your feet, locking your feet, working. Like the problem with the grapevine right here is that like the ideal mount for me is getting up high into the armpits, and if I can, bringing my legs underneath to where like both of my legs are connected and my feet are like crossed right here underneath someone. That's what's like really difficult to get out of. And whenever you're grapevining, you're almost kind of committing to a relatively lower mount. Like, yes, it's annoying. Yes, you can make it like kind of painful for someone, but I just don't think that I don't think it should be utilized this much. And I don't know, do you see that too? I feel like a lot of white and blue
Yeah, I
belts
feel like the grapevine is a good position when he's bridging,
Mm-hmm.
but when he's not bridging, you're basically putting him in a position where you're not adding that much control. So I'd say there's 3 different things that people do from bottom mount. They'll bridge really, really hard here, try to get their hips up, or they'll try to pummel this leg around into like half guard or quarter mount, or they'll just go completely under, trying to like put both feet in the armpits here.
Which that just like basically doesn't work unless someone sucks.
Yeah.
But the plus side is you can hit a Walls of Jericho directly off of a mount escape just to dunk on people.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got bridging, and kipping is kind of lumped in there. And then you've got pummeling to half guard. And this is really good when someone's bridging, but when they're not bridging and they're just sitting there, you're just welding yourself low on their hips and preventing any transition or any moves to an actual submission.
And one last, like, from Brandon's perspective, this isn't like horrible. I just, this isn't really great. Like, hips. Like, yes, you can use the shoulder. It's not like a hard and fast rule of like, there's not a totality here of like, you have to do it that way. But generally put your hands on like, push their hips away from you, because like mount, so like side control, north-south, I'm using my hands to control someone's body. But the thing about mount and really back control is I'm using my legs to control someone's body. And you need to get their hips away from you and break that connection that they have with their legs if you want to get out. Like, you just have to make some space there. And if you don't have any frames, anything that's pushing those hips away, it's going to be more difficult to get out. So again, we just see kind of grapevine. This is good, just getting that elbow up and pushing it away from the torso. T-Rex don't tap. getting people's elbows away from their torso is always good. That right there is just kind of a, not in a bad way, but that's a lack of awareness of what's about to happen. And like right as he's doing this, like bam, right there, if you see you're holding onto your grapevines instead of trying to transition based off of what someone's doing. Like that is like, I heard it called selfish jujitsu once, where it's like you're only worried about what you're doing. And jujitsu is a 2-person game, and you need to react to what your opponent's doing. You can't just do exactly what you want to do unless you're rolling with someone brand new. But yeah, transition with that. And a lot of that is also just like an awareness of when you're on top, like breaking connection with someone if they're moving in a way that you can let them move. Like you can just lift up away from them, break that connection, let them move, then reconnect. You don't have to like...
And I think the Americana is just, it's such a bad submission in my mind. Like I've only ever seen it in movies and white belt classes. And one thing I suggest is, I used to train with Jake Shields, and he had one of the most crushing mounts. And what he'd do is he would just underhook the head, like you were saying, make it so they can't look at you, give them the shoulder, and then this arm would be posting out really far so that when they hit that bridge, you've got this here, and they can't bridge the other way because you're using your shoulder. And that way you just take away space, and this arm posted here. If you can get an underhook when they do bridge, you can slowly, I call it zombie hand, you crawl your hand on the mat like that, go up, and then pummel your head under for that head and arm, which you can use to gift wrap and take the back, or you can use for that head and arm choke. Yeah,
I really like Danaher's 4x4 mount. Like, that just, like, if you get anything from that, I think it really just even those 4 positions of like a single chest wrap, double chest wrap, far trap underhook, and the gift wrap are really, really useful. But the single chest wrap, out of all of them, is the one thing that like you can get all of the time. And I think what Cade was saying is just like, if Nelson's head is like on this side, right? And he has like something trying to lift up his head, he needs to be aware of like where he's going to be bridged. If his arm's over here, like Brandon is probably going to try and bridge him this way, because that's where he can't base, because his arm is busy. It has a job. So Nelson's head should be over here and his arm should be farther out. Because if basically they should, most of the time they're going to bridge whichever your weight is, and your weight is probably on whatever side your head is. Just to trying to put it like super simple. And yeah, I agree, Americanas are, although like I feel like if you get really like, there's some Americanas you can do like a side triangle Americana, but it's like a different mechanic than like the mount Americana.
And it's if you have someone in a triangle, that's like the main position.
This is good. This is almost a headquarters type entry. Oh, right there. I really want to go back to that. That's huge. This is going to be too long, but like this is bad. Just right here. Your head is getting lower than your hips. And I just don't like that. It's not always bad, but it's a bad habit that is going to get you swept a lot.
Yeah. If it was gi and he had a really strong collar grip, he could maybe, his foot wasn't on the hip, so he couldn't hit a tomonage, but you can really pull them off balance. Maybe he'd swing his leg in for a reverse de la Hiva, try to kiss the dragon. It just allows you to be more easily off balance.
Let's see, right here, this is what I mean about Brandon is like, this grip is not good. Like, there's no, if you're still fighting the hips, like you haven't cleared his legs, your grip right here is probably not a good idea. It's not always a bad idea. It's just doing this, like over relying on this is probably bad. Like what I say is like a really powerful kind of thing is like 1, 2, or actually I'll even just number them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Control these in order. Like be an inchworm, go up. You have control of the foot. You have control of this foot. Now you have a 1 and a 1. Start using your knees to control 2. Then use your chest, your arms, use your whole body to control 2. So you're moving from 1 to 2. Once you get control of these, maybe you have some on 1, some on 2, you start controlling the hips, number 3. Once you get some control of the hips, then you start controlling number 4. But if you jump right here and you just try and see, like, look where his hand right here, he doesn't have control over the hips. There's nothing on 3 right here, right? yet his hand is all the way up at number 4. You just skipped from 2 to 4 with nothing on 3. Generally, when I see this, like I see people like that's a recipe for letting people regard and sweep, just do all sorts of stuff. Or like attack you because you can get extended. Your arms are like away from your body. You can get armbar. There's I don't know. You know what I mean?
And I think one thing to note too is that single leg grip is not very favorable, especially when you're passing. If you're gonna sit back for a leg, it's great. And I think a lot of that comes from wrestling. You know, you always kind of lift up, do the like salute the flag with their foot right here. And he has that grip there, but it's almost pulling Nelson's hips the way he wants them to be when he's guarding. So what I would suggest is kind of underhooking that leg instead of having the overhook. So I'll show with this hand. So I underhook the leg and then bring this knee in here to control that hip. And then this hand would go over the back, controlling that shoulder. So you're kind of turning and going negative, and you're using this underhook to turn his hips, putting your knee right there in his hip, and then controlling this shoulder here. So if you go by that numbering system, your underhook is controlling 1, your knee is controlling, or your arm is controlling kind of 1 and 2 on this side, your knee is controlling 3, and then this hand controls the shoulder on that side. So you have the same sequence of control essentially, where you've got shin and knee control, hip control, and then shoulder control, but on the opposite side.
And this is kind of more of the same, like right here, your hands are too far. And I just realized we can't even like see the cursor as we're drawing this. You guys can only see kind of the end result, but your hand's too far. Your hand's too far. Your posture is like too horizontal for me. I want to see you either like you're green light, red light, green light. Like you can be really far away, you can be really, really close, but that middle ground is kind of dangerous. And right now you're playing in the middle ground. This is good. Just disengage, stand up. Seeing maybe some loose passing attempts. Let's see. Nelson, this is bad. Don't, use your feet. If both of your feet are on the same side of your opponent's body, you don't have a guard. They're both on the outside, on the same side. That's not a guard.
And then Brandon did a good job capitalizing, going to north-south.
This is good, but see, even here too, that was good timing, and like yes, you can try and rush with the loose pass, but you're still coming in when he has like some defensive frames, when he has some of these things, and you're going straight for the shoulder, and you're kind of you're not giving enough respect for his legs, and you're not like trying to incrementally pass, you're trying to jump past. Let's see. That's nice. Oh, right there. That's another, like, your posture sucks right here.
Yeah. And one thing to mention is just before when Brandon was pulling single leg X, he didn't keep his knee in the middle. And that concept doesn't just apply to single leg X. You can see here when Brandon goes for this pass, this knee right there is what saves him. And if you think about it, he could throw this foot onto Brandon's hip and establish single leg X there because he has what would be considered inside control where both legs are inside. So he did a really good job recognizing the threat of the pass, but didn't capitalize by using this hand to shift off balance, then swing this foot up into the hip and go for an ankle lock or maybe even a heel hook if they roll with this.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, right there you kicked up. You could have kicked to the side and gotten the single leg X entry. This, I generally don't like butterfly here. That's a good grip on the foot. That
really
was a good dive over.
Brandon.
Yeah, that was really good. Capitalized, quick movement.
Yeah. Here, let's go back and just review that quickly. So one thing Brandon did here that was really clean is he maintains that underhook on the far side. So as soon as he lands, he capitalizes on that and hits a spin. I really like that underhook spin from side control or even from knee on belly, where you can see this is essentially knee on belly to some extent.
You talking about that underhook?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just hitting this nice pivot, using this arm to control right here. And I say this arm, I don't think you guys can see it, but using this arm to really control his posture, pulling with this underhook. This underhook's not static. His arm is pulling this way, forcing him to rotate on his side. And then this arm keeps him from over-rotating, but it creates enough space for that knee to sneak in right in this area right here.
Yeah, that was really nice movement. Boom, boom. And we just worked arm bars for 3 weeks, so they've been working these a lot. Brandon picks stuff up quick.
Yeah, no, he's got good movement.
Yeah, 100%. Same, see, that was another bad habit. Basically the same thing we saw earlier is just, you're right here. Actually, no, I am going to go back on that one. This is the same exact thing. Your head is too low and your hips are too high. Like right here, this is already like, as soon as I see this, like there's no weight on your hips are not driving down. So Nelson has a butterfly hook right here. If your hips are heavy, it drives this down, squashes the absolute bejesus out of it and makes it to where it's not usable. As soon as your hips come up like this, like what we just saw, you're now light and you can get swept. And so I think we'll see, oh, Nelson, that was a bad decision, and good job keeping this, that's nice. Little detail, I like that. Coming over, but see right here, like your posture's bad. And a lot of it is because you're overcommitted. Your hands are way up high instead of on the hips. And like you're getting kicked but pulled at the same time, which is like causing you to get elongated and stretched out. Like I would really just take everything and shrink it up. Like bring your hands in, get a proud chest, be more on the hips until you're done passing. Don't overcommit as much. Nice pass.
And here, now that underhook on the leg was good in the sense that he was able to turn his hips away. But then it got a little bit shallow and he pummeled it out, so that was a good job by Nelson. But getting that underhook is kind of the mirror of what I was talking about before. But the idea is the same. Just turn his hips away. Make it so he can't face you.
You mean like right here?
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, same thing. I mean, like, this is not a big gripe, but I would say like hand right here is not as good as hand right here. Like, hand on my neck, I can still move my head. Hand on my jaw, I can't turn into someone. So, not huge, just.
Good pull. He brought the knee in that time, so you could see foot on the hip. Good for double outside ankle lock.
And he's gonna finish here, I bet. That's looking deep. Oh, nope. Good. Nelson did a good job of getting inside. That was good. Got him off a little bit, using his foot to push off the hip. Yeah. That's nice.
One thing is Brandon relinquished that grip of the ankle, so he didn't have it, so there was no threat of submission, and then Nelson was able to take advantage and re-pummel and get out. Just
for like the probably 5th time I'm seeing in this roll. Right there, posture. You've just gave someone all of your weight and let them shove you around because your shoulders are low, your hips are high, you're like you're even more than horizontal, and your hands are trying to come up to his shoulders instead of trying to incrementally pass. And I would say that's kind of the number one thing I've seen from this role of like, if Brandon could do one thing that would significantly improve his results, it's going to be shrinking his body in a little bit and passing slower, like passing more incrementally. Like I would really say too, it looks like you're going from open guard, trying to get directly to a pass. And I would make use of some like checkpoints, some waypoints, whatever you call them. Whether that's headquarters, whether or not you want to get to top half guard, but instead of trying to pass, try and get to a position you feel comfortable passing from, where you're like partially already passed, or you have some of their frame squashed. I'm sorry, this is good stuff. I'm just talking over, but
Yeah, just looking there, Brandon had the head and arm and then forced his head in the middle and kind of gave up that submission. And I think that's just lack of experience. But here he does a good job going for it. And here's that kind of control I was talking about, where... Let me see here.
Yeah, other way.
There we go.
Here. Now.
So he did a good job maintaining the mount, but then he got a little high. But you can see here, the reason is the locked hands. This is a really great mount position to have, but you need to turn his head with this shoulder. You want this shoulder angled down, and then you want this arm here for base. Because essentially what you want to do is you want to turn his head this way so that this is the only direction that he can bridge in, and then you have a post to deal with that one direction.
Yeah.
But when you lock your hands and you stop shifting down, or you stop shifting diagonally like this and you start shifting straight down, now you have no post on this side and his head is facing straight up, so he can bridge a little bit this way and he can bridge a little bit this way instead of just only being able to bridge like that.
And then that's what you were talking about with Jake Shields, right? Like, yeah. And exactly what, he was able to bridge in that direction because his head was in the middle. And now he's regarding, although this is bad, face him, like, I mean, I get it being lazy, but like, you know how Iron Man has like a cannon that like shoots a laser beam out of his chest, right? Well, like aim that at your opponent. So you should not, your chest should not be facing the ceiling. You should like face, like, I'm just trying to focus on like the super simple concepts of things, and it's just like, face your opponent, just Jiu-Jitsu 101. And it's not, this is something that like, I say this, I don't want to sound condescending, like, you know, my biggest problem that I'm working on right now is that like, I like extend my arms too much.
Yeah.
Like,
Brandon's doing a good job with this hook right here, just elevating his hips and making it so that he can get up faster. This hook right here, because even if someone gets the jump on you, if they can't base on their foot, you can get up much faster. So you see Brandon using that here. So he is not capitalizing on it. Nelson is being a little bit lazier, but Brandon is able to sit up, and looks like he wants to play guard here. If he wanted to, he could just stand up, and that little hook helps with that transition. Nice single, guys. Good job pushing it down.
Good sprawl. I like, see, just for a second, that was the best hip pressure I've seen from Brandon in this whole video. Was just for, and he immediately alleviated it. But like, if you got good, like, see right here how his hips are kind of driving in? It was driving in just for a second, then now it's light again. Like, drive with your hips more. Like, and that's a common thing I also see from a lot of people, especially like lower belts, is like, they can be heavy with their chest. I think like that's more intuitive than being heavy with their hips and like driving with your hips, putting all of your weight into your opponent through your hips. Yeah. This is good, being very aware of that foot, the danger of that foot, kind of controlling it. See, that's good, control of the knee, but you're not overcommitting here. This is all good, you're not overcommitting. That was a little bit low posture, but still better. Oh, this is danger. I don't like your posture. Like you're too arched, and you're not respecting that foot and not panicking as much as I'd like to see. Yeah. But was that it? Yeah, I think so.
So the one thing here that I do is I just knee slide in for the, inside control, inside senkaku, whatever you want to call it. You've got a knee bar right here if you go for the shotgun grip. But again, his posture is being broken by this foot, and I'm not sure how much weight's being put on that, but my main goal from this type of position would be shotgun grip on this leg. The angle's beautiful for the knee bar, and then sliding in for a quick submission. Not jerking anything naturally, but just shotgun, slide in, start bridging.
Yeah, although I will say, so I don't know, what belt level do you think Nelson is?
Probably like white or blue.
He's a white belt. He's been training for 6 months, I think.
Gotcha.
Right about 6 months. So he is not allowed to do knee bars or be knee barred.
Gotcha. Makes
Yeah.
sense.
So I agree, and that is a problem when you're rolling with lower belts. Is like, and especially like, I mean, I still get tapped with leg locks more than anything else. Like hands down, like 90 plus, probably 95% of the time that I get tapped, it's with a leg lock. So it takes a lot of catching up to do because you can't play at low levels. All of these. And that's been kind of a difficult thing for us to figure out, like running a small gym of like, when do you introduce them? How much do you tell them? You don't want students to get hurt, but you also don't want them like learning about what a heel hook is via being at an open mat at someone else's gym as a blue belt and getting their leg cranked. So it's difficult.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a tough one. I think the position of leg locks is good to introduce, but then the actual finish is tough.
Mm-hmm.
And then using the position without knowing or respecting the finish is hard. Like, I think the perfect example of leg locks being anti-wrestling is Damian Maia versus, I'm blanking on his name now, but the funky wrestler guy.
Askren?
Yeah, Askren, where he was taken down,
Yeah.
went for a heel hook. I don't even think he had the heel hook grip. Askren sat down, Damian Maia sat up, used that leg to pass, and then took his back and choked him out. So that kind of shows how you can use bottom-up jiu-jitsu versus a standing opponent versus someone with really strong wrestling to get them down if they respect that submission, to pass, and then to ultimately get the finish.
Totally. Yeah, you don't have to, like, and nothing irritates me more. I really get irritated when I roll with people that want to do nothing but leg lock me, especially if you start getting aggressive with leg locks and you're really trying to leg lock me. I'm gonna start smashing you. Like, I'm gonna start playing like heavy jiu-jitsu because I don't want to deal with it. Like, it's just, if you are gentle and playful and you're going through positions, I'll do that too. But if you touch my feet too much, like, I'm gonna try and neon belly solar plexus sternum crush you. So beware.
Yeah, those guys that go submission over position. Like, I understand liking leg locks, but not to like name names, but you see a lot of guys when leg locks were big that would only do leg locks. That's all they do, and they faded out because the game kind of passed them by because they had no transitions. Like, one of the beauties of leg locks is your opponent has to turn to get away from you, so you can wrestle up beautifully, you can take the back, you can switch to other positions, but if you only go like foot lock, you're gonna get left behind pretty quickly.
I mean, it's kind of like, I think like when you play, like if you play De La Riva, right? That toe hold that people do whenever you're playing De La Riva, it's not that high percentage on anyone that's good, but it stops what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's like, it's an immediate, like, I have to stop what I'm doing and address this, and now I'm playing your game instead of like setting up my attacks from De La Riva. And leg locks, like, I think at like the higher levels now, you're seeing more of that. Like, yeah, people do still finish a lot of heel hooks, but you are seeing a lot more of like just threatening the legs makes people stop their game. Like, when I like playing headquarters, right? When people like threaten leg entries from headquarters, it makes me like really cautious, and then I don't get to play my normal game. So it's they are useful outside of just using as a submission. Well, I think that wraps up this one, and we're gonna take a break and do another. So if you guys like this, we're probably gonna make some more. This is the first one, so we don't have any way of like really contacting us. Actually, I guess I have a website, goldenjj.com. You can reach me on there. If you see this on Reddit, you can just DM me a link to a video if you want one of your rolling videos done like this. If preferable, it's nice to have it relatively zoomed in and not like a big wide pan, so it's easier for us to be able to notate a little bit. And same thing, if it's on YouTube, then comment on there with a Google Drive or Dropbox or anything else folder. Reach out and we'll see what we can do. Thanks.
Thank you guys. No, that's pretty much it.
Cool.